Before we get started though, I fear that you're not taking me seriously enough. Ah, yes, that's better. The blazer. Now that I have a blazer on, you have to take everything I say seriously, okay? Everything I say from here on out is therefore factual and correct. Before we get started, I do want to mention I just got back on Instagram. It's right there. Potential Planners 25% off. I will have the link in the description, as well as I'm doing hour-long coaching sessions about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to build your whole productivity system, like we're talking about today, we can do that as an idea. Okay, let's get into this productivity system. A lot of the principles I'm going to talk about today come from the book Getting Things Done, and some of the things on here are actually direct quotes from the book Getting Things Done. And something about this book that's kind of underestimated is the title is Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. And in rereading this book, I forgot how much of it is actually focused on an emotional state that we want to have. We want to have, as he describes, a mind like water. He also describes it as it's like you're in a room that has this buzzing and you don't realize the buzzing is there until the buzzing stops. So he talks about in this book there are few principles but many methods. And so I'm going to go over the principles and I will give some optional methods that I think work really well, but I'm predominantly go over the principles and then you can choose your own method. So principle 1 is get in the habit of keeping nothing on your mind. And by nothing on your mind, he means chores and tasks. So you can have that mind like water where creative ideas are coming to you. You're not losing any of those creative ideas. And you just feel at this peaceful state. It's not this buzz. All the buzz is off your mind. So the first step, you need to choose what your capture system is going to be. There needs to be a place for you to keep things out of your mind. As soon as something enters your mind, you immediately put it in this capture location. And so this buzz we're talking about are things that he calls incompletes, or in other words, is a task. And the way it's defined in the book is this. A task is anything big or little, urgent or of minor importance, that you think ought to be different than it currently is, and that you have any level of internal commitment to changing, including decisions that still need to be made. Now, when we define a task in this way, we realize that's hundreds of things. There's things around your house. There's this concept I heard one time about the silent to-do list where you're kind of looking around your house and you see a pile of dirty things and that's in your mind, oh, I got to do that. You see dishes, oh, got to do that. Even if you were to just look around your house right now, there are tons of things that you think ought to be different than they are, and you have some sort of internal commitment. Yeah, at some point I'll change it, but there's not any sort of direction as to when you're going to do it, and that is the mental buzz that we are talking about. And that includes decisions that still need to be made. That is one of the biggest blocks to projects getting done is people say, well, we could go down path A or we could go down path B with this project and I'm just not sure which one. So it's just stagnating the process. If that ever happens, I recommend you make a decision-making session. You schedule on the calendar at 8 o'clock, I'm going to schedule these decisions. So these are the things that we need to capture and keep off our mind. So how are we exactly going to do that? What is our capture location going to be? So what you need is a collection tool. One for time-related things. These are tasks like appointments or events that will happen at a certain time. So that would be some type of calendar. So you want to pick right now, do you want to have a Google Calendar? Do you want to have a physical calendar? Whatever fits your preferences, you just need some capture tool. And that's what we're deciding right now is what is your capture tool for time-related things? And second, you need a capture tool for non-time related things. This might be a list of books you want to read or a list of movies you want to watch. It's just things to be referenced at some point later in time, but you don't know when that later in time is. So this could be a notes app. This could be Notion, for example, a place to store your ideas. If you get a creative idea and you don't know when you want to use it, what do you do with that? So you need those two capture locations. And it's important to just have two. A lot of times people might have like a physical calendar on their desk, and then they also have a digital calendar, and then they also have a notes app, and then they also have voice memos sometimes, and they also sometimes make themselves to-do lists, and they also sometimes use sticky notes. That's way too many capture locations. So you want to just have two, one for time-related things and one for non-time-related things. And you want to get in the habit of as soon as it comes to your mind, you immediately put it in a time capture location. You want to get in the habit where the distance between those two things is so short. So for step 1, we are just choosing what is our capture location going to be. And in step 2, I'm going to talk about best practices for how to engage with these tools. So principle 2, for time-related tasks, for actionable tasks, you need to define what done is and what doing looks like. Or in other words, you basically need to clarify the task. A lot of times there's not enough clarity around what the task is, and that's what causes it to be turned in late or not done on time. You need to really know what does success look like, the end result, and what are my next actions that are going to get me there. So when we put things on our calendar, these time-related things, these task-related things, we're not just going to throw them on there willy-nilly. We're not just going to be putting events on there. A lot of times that's what people do. A lot of times people use a calendar as just an event tracker. I've got this appointment and I've got this concert and I've got this event, but we need a productivity system that encompasses much more than that, because a task is way more than just events. There are way more verbs that you're going to be doing than just going to the event itself. So I'm going to talk about the best practice for how to put things on the calendar. So the system is called the START system. This is a system an acronym that I made up at some point. But this first step is to specify. So anytime you have something coming up, like you've got an essay due, for example, S stands for specify. What does a successful outcome look like? What I want the end result to be. So the essay is complete, you get an A on it. You want to figure out, what is the purpose of this and what does a successful result look like? So this is typically a noun, like the essay is done. And typically this is where people stop when they put things on the calendar. Okay, this is the noun, plop it on the calendar, and that's about it. But the second step is T stands for task. So you want to split it up into all of its verbs, all the next actions that would create that result. So for example, if you have an essay due, maybe you split that up. Okay, I want to have a brainstorming session, an outlining session, I want a rough draft, and I want a final draft. Maybe that's your process for writing essays. So you split it up, you just think, what are the tasks involved? And then you assess. A stands for assess. How much time will each of those take? Maybe you want to allot 30 minutes to each of those sessions. And then R stands for rewind. So I love the quote, leaders are forward thinkers, but backward planners. So if I know, let's say the essay is due on Friday, I'm going to rewind and say, okay, well, that means this needs to be done by Thursday. I'm going to have this session on Wednesday, the session on Tuesday. So you're kind of rewinding to see, okay, that means I got to get started on this day. And then maybe you don't have to get started on this day, but you at least will know that you're doing whatever you ought to be doing. You know that if you're relaxing and you are just scrolling YouTube, you know that you can afford to be doing that because everything else is taken care of. And then finally, T stands for time. So then you're going to assign all those actions to time, okay? I'm going to do this one on Thursday, I'm going to do this one on Wednesday, and you actually assign them to those days because time is reality. So if you never attach these tasks to time, they're probably not going to get assigned to reality in a way that you are going to feel is on time or you're on top of things. Now, this process can be used for a lot of things. It can be used for essays, but it can also be used for fun things. Like you think, okay, I want to go to Coachella next year. Okay, I'm going to specify this is the end result. Okay, what are the tasks going to be? Well, I'm going to need to get tickets. So you can see already that those are going to get put on very different parts of the calendar. One, to buying tickets is months ahead of when you're going to actually go. So any task associated with it, near, far, minor, big, anything, you put it on the calendar. And a lot of this just takes 5 seconds to do. So step 1, we found a capture location. We've got a note-taking thing like Notion, for example, if we have ideas or just reference materials. And we have a calendar for things that are task-related. If it is task-related and time-related, the best practice for putting it on the calendar is to put the tasks on the calendar, all of the associated tasks go on the calendar. But that would be incomplete if we never reference that thing. Just putting something on the calendar or dumping it in a notes app doesn't mean we're actually going to do it. I think everyone understands the feeling of scrolling through your notes app and you realize there are hundreds of notes in here. I never look through these things. It just gets lost in there. So step 3 is especially for how do we then actually do these things and make sure that things don't get lost. So principle number 3, step 3 is to check. And that is to put a reminder in a place you know you will, without fail, check. If your mind thinks that you are going to fail at checking this location, it's going to just keep it in its brain. You cannot trick your mind. It knows you. It knows, are you going to 100% of the time check this location? And if you are, it will relax and stop thinking about it and the buzz will go away. If it does not completely trust you, it will continue to just remind itself and be thinking about these things. So step 3 is you need to have a routine of checking these locations. So I think the simplest thing is just to check your calendar every day, see what your tasks are upcoming, see what's going on, and then to check your notes once per week. Just scroll through there, look through the movies you want to watch, books you want to read, creative ideas you had, reference materials. Is there anything relevant to me this week? Okay, if there's not, we'll just keep it there. If there is something relevant to me this week, then I'll add it to the calendar. So on a regular basis, you're just checking your calendar every day. Once a week, you check your notes, and you're just checking your calendar every day. And that is the basics of a productivity system that makes sure that everything is taken care of. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of beef this up or make it a little more complex. I add a lot of planning routines, especially for goals. But really, the process is the exact same. If I think of a goal I want to have, I chunk it down into its tasks, and I add the tasks to the calendar. If I have a creative idea, I add it to the notes app. And that's just the basics of the foundations, the fundamentals of a productivity routine that doesn't have to be complex. It's just 3 steps. And the first time you implement this, I'm not going to lie, when you first start thinking of all the tasks that you could be doing, sometimes it's a lot. It's at the beginning, it's a lot because you haven't been doing this and you haven't been keeping up on it. But it does get easier, and you get to a point where it's only one thing you're adding per day. And it gets to a point where you feel very on top of things. You do feel very mind like water. It's true. And you're thinking of just more enjoyable things. Not just reminding them, I gotta be doing this thing. The best part about it, honestly, is then you can just be scrolling YouTube or doing something unproductive, and that's what you should be doing. You don't feel guilty. It takes away the guilt of being able to scroll YouTube. So I think that's one of my favorite things about it, actually. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I do have Instagram back up and running. The Potential Planner is 25% off just for this week. It's about to close. That sale's about to close. And also, this is about to be done, the hour-long coaching sessions that I'm doing. All of that will be in the description. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.